Hello! This is gonna be a very quick video. I am getting ready for New Year's. Nothing's gonna be happening, but gotta be doing something during these days. The point of this video is to talk about the fact that I think that 2020 did not happen. I am genuinely convinced it didn't happen. I've been reflecting today, okay? And I've been trying to remember things from this year because I felt like it was the longest and the shortest year ever. No, the thing is, no, it doesn't exist. It didn't exist. It didn't happen. That's what it is. I've been trying to remember what I was doing, and not as like a fact, but rather as how did I feel while I was doing all of the things that I was doing this year and everything like that. Usually I would remember, for example, I would think about being in school, and I would remember being in school, and instead of it being like, oh, I handed in my assignments and I studied, I remember like random things like, oh, like I used to buy a chocolate bar at this specific store on the way to one of my classes all the time or whatever. Like I would remember very specific things about my experience, and I've been trying to think about the beginning of this year. And the thing is, I was still in school at that time. In January, I was in my last semester of university. All of my memories of being outside and doing things are weird now, because I know that like the place where I live went into the first lockdown in end of March, I think. So we still had at least 2 normal months before then, and I was still going to school and I was working like 20 hours a week at the same time, and I just can't remember doing any of that as in it happened this year. I feel like it happened maybe a year and a half ago. You know how a lot of people think about the universe and they get like really weird about it, like they don't like talking about it because it makes them feel sad or something. And I always felt like it actually makes me feel a lot better, because instead of perpetuating my existential crisis, it actually made me feel like things made more sense. Because if we live on this little floating rock, everything makes more sense to me, because our everyday life and our customs and our cultures and everything makes no sense absolutely to me. Like, it's just such a mess. It's just so weird. Everything is so weird that this whole perspective of looking at things through the lens of being really small and big universe actually makes a lot of sense to me and makes me feel very comfortable. This year makes me feel like, instead of me living in that understanding of time and space being like more abstract ideas that are actually a lot different from reality, it made me feel like everyone is on the same kind of wavelength. Everyone's like, okay, this doesn't make any sense and nothing makes sense anymore, and this is just weird. All of us lost real feeling of time. While there were many people who did not do their due diligence, a lot of us were sitting at home and doing absolutely nothing. Well, maybe not sitting at home all the time. Some of us were working and stuff like that, obviously, but trying to figure out how to pay our bills and how to not end up on the streets, while others who were already rich were getting richer and richer and richer. I genuinely think this year just proved that nothing is real and nothing makes sense. Like, I can remember things from my life from this year, but everything is kind of an insignificant blur. Things happened, but all of them were not progressive, they were regressive. Or at least they felt regressive in many ways. And even though there were some changes or maybe not changes, but some kind of reaction from the public about things that were happening, and a lot of more global things were happening, on a personal level, it feels like this year is really hard to ground yourself in. I cannot remember my experiences, while at the same time, like, I know my experiences. It's not like I had amnesia or something. It's just I cannot ground myself in the reality of the past year, because it just felt like a goddamn blur. It also solidified how I feel about it, the fact that we just don't live in the same fucking dimensions, while people like Kardashians and Bezos and a lot of other people who are not maybe as rich as, like, filthy rich as those people are, but are still on a very different level of wealth, are living in a completely different dimension. Like, it just doesn't feel like they live in the same world, because to them this was just a normal year. Can you imagine? Like, this year feels like it did not really truly exist to me. It's just like a blur of just being confused. In the summer, I remember there was a point where at the same time, so we had like a lockdown, and at the same time as we had a lockdown, a lot of people getting sick and stuff like that, we had a moth infestation everywhere in like the entirety of the city. I remember walking around, just walking my dog or whatever, and there were like a bunch of moths just like swirling around each of the lampposts. And at the same time, it was really hard to see anything, because there was such thick smog from the fires that we had to wear a mask even inside the house, because it was so hot. We would open the windows, but the air was so bad outside that we had to wear a mask even when we were inside. It was such a waste this year. I just got so many problems from this year and no solutions. Absolutely none. And it just seems so crazy to me that this year is apparently real. I think it isn't. Like, I really don't want to refer to 2021 as 2020, but I'm convinced that 2020 didn't happen. In any case, what the hell is this? Time doesn't exist, and 2020 did not happen. Happy New Year.